the events that happened in Addis Ababa.
Vous savez, l'année dernière, nous avons débattu sur la question du statut d'Israël comme observateur à l'Union africaine. Suite à ces différentes discussions, la conférence a décidé de mettre en place un comité ad hoc des chefs d'État sur la question. Ce qui veut dire que le statut
During the opening ceremony of the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, security personnel removed Ambassador Sharon Barley, Israel's Deputy Director for Africa, from the auditorium. The spokesperson for the African Union's chairman explained that the ambassador was not the duly accredited Israeli ambassador to Ethiopia, and therefore she was asked to leave. Israel condemned the incident and blamed South Africa and Algeria for holding the AU hostage, claiming they were driven by hate.
The dispute over Israel's observer status in the African Union began in July 2021 when then chair of the AU Commission unilaterally accepted Israel's accreditation, triggering an uproar from several member states demanding the status be withdrawn. South Africa and Algeria spearheaded the protests, arguing that the decision conflicted with AU statements supporting the occupied Palestinian territories. In February 2022, the AU decided to suspend the debate on whether to suspend Israel's observer status and formed a committee to consult with member states and build consensus on the matter. And joining us for this conversation, we have Dr. David Masanga, African Affairs Analyst, joining us from Nairobi, Kenya. We also have Zaya Yibo, a retired media and governance expert, all the way from Accra, Ghana. Thank you so much for joining us on the conversation. All right, Zaya, I'd like to begin with you. And we saw the video was posted on social media. It showed security personnel escorting Ambassador Sharon Barley out of the auditorium at the African Union after she was allegedly asked to leave. Now, can you tell us more about the circumstances surrounding her removal and what led up to it? Zaya, can you hear me? All right, while we still try to get Zaya, I mean, this was a very serious situation over the weekend at the African Union Summit. Zaya, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you. I can hear you clearly.
All right, wonderful. So we're talking about the video that was posted on social media where Israel's ambassador Sharon Barley was escorted out by security agencies out of the auditorium at the African Union Summit after she was allegedly asked to leave. Can you tell us more about the circumstances surrounding her removal?
Well, honestly, I really don't know the circumstances of the removal, but I suspect it's because Israel was in a meeting to which it was either not invited or was contentious. And I don't really see what Israel was doing at an African Union meeting at all.
Okay.
Now, I'd like to bring in Dr. David Matsanga into the conversation. Warm welcome to you, Dr. Matsanga.
Thank you very much. Welcome. I am sorry. Are you hearing me properly?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Good to have you. Now, Dr. Matsanga, Israel's status as an accredited observer at the African Union Summit is important because it allows the country to have a presence at one of the largest international gatherings of African leaders. What benefits does Israel gain from having an observer status, and why is it considered a significant diplomatic achievement?
Thank you very much. First of all, I am one of the few people who has condemned the manner in which African Union Commission Chairperson Dr. Mohamed Faki conducted himself, and I've been on record for saying for the last 8 years that he has not been conducting the affairs of African Union properly. How did this man get a badge? How did he go? I have been going for 40 years in the AU as a special guest of the African Union. And to get a badge in Ethiopia, you must be screened by intelligence system, by the AU commission itself. So how did this lady, or whoever the lady who was on the floor, from the first gate, the second gate, to the main hall, someone in the African Union is telling us a lie that they had already planned to do what they wanted to do, and they have been pressurized because there was something that went wrong. In the end, that South Africa and other organizations started complaining. And I want to tell you, the viewers who are watching us all over Africa and the world, this matter came up in 2021. I was one of the few people who said, how does the chairperson of the African Union just assemble a country and bring them without a consultation of the heads of state? I have been complaining about that. So this question of us Africans embarrassing ourselves, you embarrass a delegation, a country. You have already gone to Tel Aviv. You have met the Israel government as the chairperson of the African Union, promised them that you will deliver them a status at the conference. Then, therefore, when you hear that everybody is going to reject it, you embarrass them on the floor. That is this. I support all the people in the Middle East for a peaceful resolution of the conflict.
Okay. All right.
Nobody should query why Israel was there. I disagree with anybody querying. Then if we query why is Palestine there? Why is Palestine there then? This is an African Union. Let all of them go away and we remain as Africans.
Now, Dr. Masanga, on these discrepancies, now becoming an accredited observer at the African Union Summit involves submitting an application and receiving an invitation from the African Union. Now, Israel's application for observer status was controversial. And we saw South Africa, we saw Algeria all spearheading this controversy. So what exactly were the objections to Israel's observer status at the African Union?
Objections are baseless because both the parties, Palestinian people are not part of Africa. They are in the Middle East, we are in Africa. Israel is in the Middle East. If you want to expel all, let them all go away. But because we have historical links with the struggle against the colonial masters, and we have struggled together with our brothers Yasser Arafat and the rest of the people. We said, okay, let's introduce a status where they can come and be in there. But things have changed now. Everybody has started talking peace dialogue. Palestinians and Israelis must live together. But you cannot import your problems and bring them on African Union. The point goes, Rita, the point goes to our African Union Commission. He is incompetent. He is corrupt. He should be removed. He should be censored for having brought us to ridicule, to a laughing stock. And the new breed of leadership must come up and capture this African Union to move it forward. You can see what our leaders do on the continent. When Joe Biden calls them, they wear their suits faster than even the way they serve our people in the countries. They wear suits and go there and and come back. Can you tell me one African leader who came back and said, now I came back with American money, it is here? Where? They went there. This guy in the African Union has let us down. African Union has been captured by the French. I am always honest. I will remain honest. I will speak like a Nyerere Sekou and everybody who used to speak Jomo Kenyatta or what, Amir Kabura, until we get a better African Union. The chairperson there is a sellout. He has sold our organization to the French. all the conflicts. You have seen he cancels elections where we have spent $400,000 in Congo. And we send observers in Congo. Then he writes a letter to say, don't recognize the government of Tshisekedi. Is this the African Union we want? You have seen the problem in Libya. Look at Libya. Look at Libya. Look at Chad. This man knows the people who killed President Idris Deby. He knows the rebels that are now negotiating in Qatar. Why didn't he tell African Union who killed Idris Deby in cold blood? And then later on, nobody. They have allowed Chad to sit on the table. They don't want Egypt. They don't want Sudan. They don't want Mali. What is the difference? You kill a leader.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Yes. Matanga. I would like to bring in our second panelist, Zaya, who's in Accra, Ghana. Now, Zaya, Israel's relationship with the African Union has a complex history that dates back to the 1960s, when many African countries gained independence from European colonial powers. At that time, Israel was seen as a potential ally for African nations that were seeking support for their anti-colonial struggles. Can you give us a context of Israel's relationship with African countries and how it has evolved over time?
Africa's relationship with Israel has followed the pattern of our anti-colonial struggles. There were times when Israel was regarded as an ally in our struggle against colonialism, and I'm sure that was when Israel itself was going through certain problems and had a progressive leadership. But for some time now, Israel has come under the control of right-wing governments in its own country. They don't listen to anybody. They treat the Palestinians as if Israel was a colonial power sitting over a colonized people. And Africans have increasingly questioned the role of Libya on the international stage. The last straw that broke Israel's back was basically when Israel supported the invasion of Libya that led to the death of Colonel Gaddafi. And Israel has since then not listened to any African leader. When they sees them, they want to be part of the African Union, something that I find ridiculous, because Israel is not an African country. It is not even in Africa. What does it want to do in the African Union?
But
it
the
is
Palestinian...
because of the influence the decisions were made about the Israel-Arab conflict. But I think basically Israel has no business being in our affairs.
So why, just stay with you, Zaya, why is South Africa, key players, South Africa and Algeria, why are they vehemently opposed to Israeli membership, observer status at the African Union?
I think historically, South Africa in particular has played a very progressive role in Africa long during the days of the anti-apartheid struggle, throughout the days when Nelson Mandela became president. South Africa has played a very progressive role. And the position they've taken against Israel's presence there is a progressive position. One expected South Africa to do that, and so is Algeria. If Libya had not fallen into the hands of, the confusion created by NATO, Libya would probably have taken the same position. My own country, Ghana, will have taken the same position, but for the fact that we do not have a radical leadership. So I think that it is right for South Africa, which is basically the leader of the African continent these days, to take that position. And I agree with the position of South Africa, that Israel should never have been allowed, should never have been given an observer status. To observe what? I mean, these are African affairs. We don't go around observing EU affairs. We don't go around observing American, Congress affairs. Why do they want to come and observe our affairs? And I think that South Africa had a right to do that, and so is Algeria. These are two progressive, brotherly countries, and I think they have a right to do that. And I think the rest of African leaders should be ashamed of themselves that they allowed this to happen in the first place.
All right.
If Africa allows anybody who wants, soon you will have, all manner of countries joining the African Union. It will cease to be called the African Union if that happens. But more importantly, I think we need to resist attempts by Israel to enter Africa by any other means.
Okay, now thank you so much, Zaya. Now, still looking at this dispute, Dr. Masanga, we heard from Zaya. Now, he's saying that Israel has no business at the African Union Summit. We're still looking at the observer status of Israel at the African Union Summit and, of course, the relationship between Africa and Israel. Now, Israel responded and said that, especially with the key players there, South Africa and Algeria, and said that the African Union, that South Africa and Algeria is holding African Union hostage and being driven by hate. And then we see people saying that Israel has no business at the African Union Summit. What do you make of all of this dispute?
What has Palestine got to do with our business? They are not all African countries. If my friend Yebo from Ghana says Israel should go out, Palestine should also get up and go back to Ramallah. What are they doing on African soil? We don't want them to import their problems on African soil. That's the radical view of some of us. We are also of the same age bracket, like Dr. Muhammad Faki and the rest of the presidents who were seated there, especially myself. I've struggled for this continent, Africa. Let me ask you one question. This Mr. Yebo is talking about Israel, not what is it doing there. What about the embassies? We have embassies. South Africa has an embassy in Pretoria. There is an Israeli embassy, ambassador, talking to Mr. Zuma, Mr. Ramaphosa every day. What is the difference? Hypocrisy. 44 countries of Africa have embassies of Israel. Now you tell me what is the difference of the embassy in your house, in your town, and a person to see an observer, just to be an observer in the summit. Yet he has got an embassy, a house, a bed, a swimming pool, a kitchen, where he cooks food in your house. These Africans, some of them, we need to go back to school, I think. Time has come. Dr. Muhammad Faki, this is his mistake. He brought Israel quietly in 2021. He visited Tel Aviv. I have records of what he did there, which I don't want to put on your television. But we have got every evidence that Israel was purely invited, given cards for entry into the hall. Then later on, when people became very upset, the chairperson told his rude security agencies, Rita, if you are going to cover anything in AU, just do exercise first, because they are very rude Ethiopians at the gate of AU. They can even mishandle a president. I've been there several times. Our president Museveni was pushed, was almost falling on the floor.
Dr. Masanga, this conversation will continue because the African Union, of course, the chairperson, has said that this Israel's position of observer status has been suspended and that they were not invited for the African Union Summit. Of course, this conversation will continue. But for now,
Rita, he's lying.
All right.
There was an invitation. There was a card. You can't get a card in Ethiopia.
All right, Dr. Masanga, we'll have to take your word. We'll have to take your word against the African Union chairman's word. But for now, we'll have to
take his word.
We'll have to call this a wrap. We'll have to call this a wrap, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you, Dr. Masanga, for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you, Zaya Yebo, for being great company. It was a pleasure talking to you both.
Thank you. And this is where we'll draw the curtains of today's edition of The Conversation. Do join us again on Wednesday. Of course, do not forget to follow News Central TV as we're giving you updates for the Nigeria elections just coming up on February 25. I am Rita Modia. Many thanks for staying tuned.
And I'm Genga Bora.